Kwaba, welcome to this week's edition of Ghana in Focus. Myself, Kwame, Ghanaian writer, broadcaster, journalist, historian, entrepreneur. And in this week's episode of Ghana in Focus, we're looking at our series of business opportunities in Ghana. And this week, we're looking at agro processing, agriculture. Well, we did agriculture last time, so agro processing. So that's the theme for this week's show. Business opportunities in Ghana, part 8. Looking at agro processing. That is the real money maker, yeah? So before we get into the show, if you like what you hear, please share to your friends, your family, social media networks, subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube, hit the notification bell, meaning that every time we upload a new podcast, YouTube will notify you. Similarly, we're on Spotify. Look out for Ghana Africa in Focus on Spotify. Hit the follow button, meaning that every time we download a new podcast on Spotify, Spotify will notify you, okay? And if you want to help contribute to the show, you can make a donation as $3 a month. It can be a one-off payment or a monthly subscription. So if you want to donate, I'll leave you the donate link as to how you can donate as little as $3 a month. All right. Before we get into the show, there's a bit of news. So, last couple of weeks, the government of Ghana has evacuated about 1,000 Ghanaians from South Africa because of the Afrophobic violence that has taken place against African nationals in that country. We know Mozambique, we know some Malawians and Mozambique have been killed recently. Mozambique has also airlifted some of their nationals back home, so has Nigeria. And so this is getting quite serious, whereby this disgraceful Afrophobic attack by so-called Black South Africans is taking place, and there's been no condemnation by the police, the authorities, the law, and even the President Ramaphosa have not made a national statement to condemn the violence that is going on within the country. So, something is not right somewhere. And we know that, like I said, there's some white people and some African elites who are behind Operation Dudwala and also Put Africa First, who are both responsible for the Afrophobic violence in the country. And this week gone by also, there's been protests in Ghana over the Afrophobic attack in the light of 1,000 Ghanaians coming back to Ghana in the last couple of weeks or so. And, Ghana is taking action economically. They have not renewed the license of Goldfields Ghana. Goldfields Ghana has been manning in Ghana for a long time. So Goldfields South Africa, or Goldfields Ghana, which is a South African company. And like I said before, when I'm talking about South Africa, we mean white, because Black people don't have nothing in South Africa. Yeah, no land, no economy, no resources, nothing. And yet you want to attack your African brothers and sisters when it's the white man who has taken over your country, your land, resources, etc. And so Ghana, Ghana has revoked Goldfields Ghana, and apparently, they're going to also make some steps to not renew the license of DSTV and other South African businesses operating in Ghana. Also, Nigeria, we heard, are putting some sanctions on MTN. MTN Nigeria is the biggest franchise in Africa, and of the MTN company or conglomerate, MTN Nigeria is responsible for half the profits MTN makes on the African continent. So if this goes ahead, this will mean very, very bad news for MTN and South Africa indeed. So, this is the consequences of this Afrophobic violence. I may make another thing on this later on, probably in the month, but keep it locked, because this story is still an ongoing story, which has quite a few ramifications, not just for South Africa but for the whole continent as well. And we know that there's going to be a this issue of Afrophobic violence in Tanzania, South Africa, is going to be discussed at the next Africa Union meeting, and that's going to be held at Addis Ababa in the week beginning the 25th of June. So watch out for that. We'll look out for that and see what comes out of that, because Ghana has tabled a motion for that issue to be discussed at that AU conference. All right, so let's get into the podcast proper, looking at business opportunities in Ghana. So today, we are diving into one of the most powerful and misunderstood opportunities in Ghana's economy: agro-processing and small-scale manufacturing. Yeah. Now, if you want to, make money, this is where the money is, and we're going to tell you how you can make money in Ghana by agro-processing and also small-scale manufacturing. Now, Ghana is blessed with land, sunlight, water, and crops. However, we export raw materials and import finished goods. But this is beginning to change slowly. But there's still a gap there, and that's where you, as a business person or someone who's business-minded, comes in, and this is where the money is. So we're going to look at some segments within this podcast as to areas you can tap into in the agro-processing chain in Ghana. Now, why agro-processing matters is because it's the bridge between farming and industry. It's where value-added addition is created. It's also where margins multiply. Yeah. So a farmer sells cassava, earns, some change. Not much, but some change. However, a processor turns that cassava into gari, flour, cassava chip, starch, or even ethanol to put in your cars as diesel fuel. That is the one that earns real money. So when you process the raw material, that's what makes you money. Again, a farmer selling mangoes earns little. However, if you process the mango into producing bottled mango juice, that can earn you big money. Not just in Ghana, not just in West Africa, but the whole world. Because people want to sample fresh organic produce, not the rubbish that they sell in the cartons in the West. And some of that, also is sold in Ghana. Things like cedis and what's the other one? Dos Simon. Yeah, Dos Simon. Those are quite popular in Ghana. So if you're able to process, pure mango juice, orange juice, those juices, you're gonna make big money. So this is why agro-processing is the future. So let's move on to small-scale manufacturing. And with that, you don't need big money. You can start that today. Yeah. So you don't need a factory. You don't need millions. You can start small and scale it up. So this is the beauty about agro-processing. You can do it from your own home. You can start small and then scale up as the business continues to evolve and grow. Now, you can do gari processing. You can do gari processing from your own home. Yeah. So cassava is everywhere in Ghana. Gari is consumed daily. So like gari is consumed with big beans, the Ghanaian beans that they call gobe. Yeah. Or the Ghanaian beans and the red is consumed daily. Yeah. Or even gari is used. I remember when I was growing up in Ghana, we used gari as cereal. So the raw gari put with sugar and milk is a breakfast cereal in Ghana back in the day. Yeah. Demand is permanent. Yeah. People eat gari even in the villages. Yeah. People eat gari. And gari is spelled Gari. Yeah. So you can start with a grater, a presser, a fryer, and packaging. Packaging is very simple to get nowadays, because of advancing technology. You can do your own packaging from your own home. And once you've actually, grated the gari, right, into, you refined it into, so you got the cassava and you grated it into gari pieces. You can actually sell it to supermarkets, schools, restaurants, and diaspora markets. Yeah. Next thing you can add value to is groundnut paste, or as they call it in the West, peanut butter. Yeah. And by the way, peanut butter was invented by an African-American scientist called George Carver Washington. Great genius of a man. Now, one of the most easiest and most profitable products in Ghana, right, is peanut butter, essentially. So all it is to roast the peanut, grind the peanut, package it, and sell. Simple. And you know, peanut butter is very, very popular in Ghana. It's used to make mbutio. Yeah, mbutio groundnut soup is very, very popular in Ghana. Mbutio, which is rice bowl and groundnut soup, is very, very popular in Ghana, particularly at weddings, funerals, outdoors, or just everyday meal. Yeah, mbutio very, very popular. So if you can sell, or produce organic, high-class peanut butter, yeah, you can make money. Just peanut butter alone, you make millions in Ghana, yeah, and then sell it to other parts of the continent, yeah, you'll make a lot of money and even export it to, the West. You make money because obviously the West they're more into like organic foods, particularly in Europe, not so much America, but in Europe, right? There's a drive for more organic food. So if you in Ghana able to produce organic grown peanut butter, yeah, you're gonna make a killing because peanut butter is very, very popular also in Europe as well. People use it on a peanut butter sandwich. People use it, you know. Obviously, you got the Africans in the diaspora, Ghanaians in the diaspora. We use it to make peanut butter soup, etc. So you can make a lot of money just by manufacturing peanut butter. We move on to coconut oil and shea butter. Now these are the biggies and nukers on the block. So coconut oil and shea butter have developed over the last 10 years into becoming high value, high sort of products, right? Particularly in the beauty and wellness market. Now within this market, Ghana's beauty and wellness market is booming in Ghana. It's booming. This is a market you can tap into. And at the center of this, right, coconut oil and shea butter, because people are wanting to move away from the harmful, mass-produced butters and oils that damage the skin, damage the hair. So if you can produce raw or virgin coconut oil, shea butter, or shea-based cosmetics, you're booming, you're making money. Again, with the coconut, apart from making oil, you could also make coconut biscuits, yeah, coconut soap, coconut shampoo, coconut, and even coconut, juice. Bottle it up, and juice it and bottle it up, and sell it to restaurants, schools, shops, supermarkets, etc. So coconut alone is a massive, massive product where you can add value to and make a lot of money. Obviously, shea butter is also big, is also beginning to popular as well because shea butter is very, very good for the skin. If you want a youthful appearance, shea butter is something that I recommend because I wear it myself, and it makes your body supple and youthful in appearance. So again, coconut oil and shea butter are definitely two products you can make a lot of money in Ghana and also outside of Ghana. We move on now to spices and seasoning powders. So demand for this is high, particularly in the diaspora. So garlic, ginger, chili, mixed season are all in high demand. Because essentially this is what we cook with. Not just Ghanaians, but Nigerians and West Africans. We use a lot of spices in our food. Yeah. So if you're able to, get the ginger, great garlic, great chili, mix it together and produce a powerful seasoning, yeah, that can be used on jollof rice, that can be used, in everyday cooking, that can be used even as a herbal remedy, yeah. Package it professionally and supply supermarkets. Again, you're gonna make a lot of money. So we move on. And I hinted about this earlier on. Juice production for local market and export. So again, Ghana is blessed with many, many, fruits, which are of the highest caliber, because our soil is very, very rich in nutrients and protein, and our soil is of rich quality. And so Ghana grows pineapple, mango, orange, coconut, guava, watermelon, etc. However, like I mentioned earlier on, imports most of its juices. Yeah. So again, this is not big money. You can start in your home with a juicer. So how to start? Get a juicer, right? A pulper, a pasteurizer, and then a bottling machine. You can do this in your home, beloved. You didn't even need a factory for it. You can do this in your home by getting those things that I've just mentioned: the fruit washer, the pulper, bottling machine, etc. Now, once you buy oranges from the village, you buy coconut from the guys in the street, or you can negotiate with a mango farmer or pineapple farmer to produce so many pineapples or mangoes a week or a month. You can easily, in the comfort of your own home, yeah, create juices, coconut juice, orange juice, mango juice, pineapple juice, or even do a mixture, i.e. pineapple and orange, i.e. pineapple and ginger, i.e. pineapple and mango, etc. And you can sell to restaurants, you can sell to supermarkets, hotels, and even schools. Yeah. So another angle within the export realm is that diaspora markets want natural, organic, preservative-free juices. Yeah. They're sick and tired of drinking these things from a carton that are not really healthy because they contain a lot of fructose and other artificial sweeteners. Yeah. So if you can make natural, preservative-free, organic fruit juices, again, you've got a market in Ghana, in West Africa, on the continent, and also in the West and even Asia. Yeah, because they're looking for these so-called exotic juices that come out of countries like Ghana. So again, if you're able to exploit this side of the market, yeah, you can make a killing. Now we look at cassava processing, the sleeping giant. I went touched about this earlier on. So cassava is Ghana's most versatile crop. You can process it into gari, like I mentioned earlier on. Cassava flour. There's all this hoopla, in the Ukraine war, still ongoing war, Russia, Ukraine, that we couldn't get flour to produce bread. Hello, right? Cassava can be used to make flour. So Ghana does not need to import flour from Ukraine or any European country or even Asia. When we've got cassava, which is A, more healthy, and B, more suited to our condition. So cassava flour. Again, cassava chips. So you got like potato chips, you can make cassava chips. Industrial starch for industrial uses. Ethanol, that can be used to make alcohol, as well as, cross-fertilize it with methanol to make fuel for your car. And also, cassava can be used to make animal feed. Yeah. So these are 6 ways how you can use one vegetable, cassava, and turn it into numerous byproducts like gari, flour, chips, etc. Yeah. And as I mentioned, this cassava flour alone, just the flour alone, is a multi-million-dollar opportunity because it replaces normal flour that I was talking about from Ukraine that can be used not just in Ghana, but in West Africa and also other African countries. Yeah. So processing of cassava into other products or byproducts is a serious money-making business. Now, next segment, rice milling and packaging. Again, another market for you if you're on the ball. Check this. Ghana imports 60% of its rice. However, local rice is healthier and cheaper. But the thing about that is that it's not packaged properly. And this puts a lot of Ghanaians, particularly the upper middle class, yeah, who would love to eat made in Ghanaian rice. But because it's not packaged well, they prefer to buy the rice from Thailand, that's imported from Thailand, from Vietnam, from America, etc. Now, what you can do as an investor is to invest in a rice mill, a desk toner, and packaging. So you can easily, you know, process your rice, yeah? And then when you brand it well, market it well, you can supply it to supermarkets, hotels, and even schools and make money. And even the government, yeah, can, if you're lucky and it's packaged well, you can actually get a contract from the government to sell rice to government functions. So, for example, when a government is having a function, yeah, for a a foreign event or an event to promote Ghana culture or Ghana rice. There you go. Market made it for you if you're able to brand and package your rice very well. So rice milling and rice producing, processing is also a big market in Ghana. Given the fact that Ghana imports 60% of its rice. Another game changer, tomatoes. Again, Ghana imports a lot of tomato paste from China and from Italy. Yeah. While farmers in the north, where the majority of tomato in Ghana are produced, lose tomatoes every year due to glut. So there's two things on that. You can actually have a storage system, yeah, where you can buy a refrigerator or a big fridge whereby you can store these tomatoes for the tomato farmers so that they don't lose their tomatoes every year. Yeah, that's one income within tomato industry. Second, you can produce tomato paste, tomato puree, canned tomatoes. This is all high demand because tomato is the base of cooking in Ghana. Not just in Ghana, but Africa per se. Tomato is one of the key ingredients for cooking in Ghana or cooking across the continent. And so if you're able to produce high quality tomato paste, high quality tomato puree, and high quality organic canned tomatoes, you can make a killing in Ghana, in the continent, and also go to Europe and America as well. Now, next segment is a bit of an odd one, but it's still very important within the agro-processing chain. Now, this is drying and dehydration. Now, dry mango, pineapple, banana, ginger, moringa is also very popular, chili and herbs, all these, yeah, particularly when they're dried, have a long shelf life and have high export demand. Yeah, look at, like I said, in Europe and America. Yeah, the demand for these commodities, mango, pineapple, banana, ginger, particularly moringa, very, very, very high demand. Yeah, so if you're able to have these products, right, that, like I say, have a high or have a long shelf life and high demand, you can make a lot of money within the drying and dehydration sector of the food chain, agro-processing business in Ghana. Moving on, we look at packaging. Now, packaging is one of those parts of the food chain that's not really talked about, but it's a hidden gold mine. I mentioned to you earlier on that many Ghanaians would like to buy local rice, made in Ghana rice, but because it's not packaged well, most Ghanaians will buy the imported rice, which is packaged well and labeled well. So, many agro-processors in Ghana fail because of poor packaging. Now, if you supply bottles, labels, sachets, pouches, or branding, you can serve hundreds of small manufacturers, small-scale manufacturers in Ghana and make money. And this thing about labeling, and even sachets and pouches, these are easy to use, these are hard to do. You can do it with the technology nowadays. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. Yeah. because packaging, because consumers in Ghana now are getting more savvy. And, we as African people, we are visual people. So if something looks nice, we're more likely to buy it than not. So if your packaging, like I said, hits the mark, hits all the right notes, yeah, and you're able to service to producers and manufacturers, you make a lot of money. Now, we look at distribution, which is where the real money is made. Now, even if you don't produce anything, you can make money distributing. Yeah. And you can make money by distributing things like gari, spices, fruit juices, coconut oil, shea butter, etc. Distribution is where the real money is. Yeah. So just a little bit about distribution is one of the most profitable, least crowded, and most structurally important parts of the agriculture or the agro-processing value chain. Yeah. And essentially, our, issue about this distribution is that it's inefficient and expensive, creating opportunity for private operators. Players like DHL are entering the space because demand is exploding. And also, new digital platforms like AgroCart are emerging to fix post-harvest losses by connecting farmers directly to transport. So, this is a hidden cash cow. Things about, distribution. So, if you're able to get a very, very effective distribution chain network, you're going to be making a lot of money. So, lastly, we look at export, and Ghana has a massive diaspora in Britain, yeah, in Germany, in the Netherlands, US, and Canada, yeah. And so African diasporas want Ghanaian spices, Ghanaian snacks, Ghanaian juices, natural juices, fruit juices, Ghanaian oils like coconut oil, shea butter, yeah. So if you export to begin with small batches to UK, US, Canada, you're gonna make a lot of money, and it's easier than ever before because of the technology. So you can start by doing it small scale, and then as the business evolves and grows, you can scale it up. And so, in closing, the future belongs to value addition, and this is now something that a lot of Ghanaians are beginning to clock onto: value addition. So, Ghana does not need raw materials. We've got a lot of them. Ghana needs value addition. The real money is not in growing mangoes, it's in producing mango juice. Not in harvesting cassava, but in turning it into flour, starch, chips, and gari. Not in picking coconuts, but in producing coconut juice and coconut oil for cosmetics. Now, if you understand agro-processing, you understand the future of Ghana's economy. This is where, believe it or not, the next generation of millionaires will come from. Not AI, not cybersecurity, but agro-processing agriculture. All right. And so this brings to an end this edition of Ghana in Focus with myself, Kwame, looking about business opportunities in Ghana, looking about agro-processing and manufacturing. If you like what you hear, please share it with your friends, your family, social media networks. Subscribe to Ghana African Focus on YouTube. Subscribe to Africa and Ghana in Focus on Spotify. And we'll continue the theme for next week, but also the World Cup started. So we'll be looking about, 2 of the African teams have played so far. Morocco drew with Brazil in a creditable 1-1 draw with Brazil. And South Africa lost to, who did they lose to? Who did South Africa lose to? South Africa lost opening game to Mexico. And so we'll probably do a World Cup special in the week when some more African teams have played. Cote d'Ivoire are going to play on Tuesday, Ghana on Wednesday. So we may do a roundup of, some of the group games featuring African teams. All right, but for myself, Kwame, and from all the crew here on Ghana in Focus, is thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next edition of Ghana in Focus.